Hi everyone, I'm Kelly from Bespoke Creative Design. First of all, huge thank you to those of you that have joined me for the past 2 days. I've been doing some free online workshops, arts and craft workshops, the idea being using lots of materials that are around the home to avoid any massive expense. And there's not an awful lot around at the moment for us to do with this pandemic, so I thought this was quite a nice way to kill an hour or so if you're stuck indoors with the kids, or kids if you haven't got anything to do come and join me. So a big thank you to those of you that have sent pictures of your artwork to me today. It's really brightened my day. It's been really grim and wet. Hopefully you haven't got too cold today, and today will be the third workshop out of the series of 4, so I've got one more project for us to do tomorrow, which should see us into the weekend quite nicely. I've tried to keep it shorter than yesterday's epic. Yesterday we made these, just in case you didn't see it. All of these videos are on my website, www.bespoke creative design, and also on YouTube if you have trouble with the Facebook link at all. So we made these yesterday. And the very first, I'm just going to lose these because I've got too much on my table. And the first workshop we did, the Day of the Dead paper plate skulls. Again, that workshop's uploaded for you to join in if you fancy it. So today, again, we're keeping it cheap, keeping it simple, and we're going to make these trick or treat, smell my feet door hangers. I've made mine on a pumpkin shape, but again you can choose any sort of Halloween shape that tickles your fancy, that you fancy having a go of, and it's all made of stuff from around the home, or alternatives if you haven't got paint and things like that. So let's get started, and the first thing to do is to locate yourself a piece of card to actually make our door hanger with. This was just a cardboard box that I've used the side of. You could use a cereal box from home, or even if you've got the thin card like this, for example, that's fine, that works just the same. Whatever you've got at home, grab that. And then I would say draw yourself a pumpkin. Now without any direction, some people might struggle with that, so again I try to find a way to make that easy for you to draw, and I will show you the way that I've come up with, which might help. And if I do it in a magic marker pen, you'll be able to see it much clearer, I hope, on the camera. So here's my piece of board, just a piece of cardboard box, like I say. You can see it's still got the lines down it. And I'm just going to use a paper plate as a template to draw around. So I'm going to draw around one. I'm hoping you can see that from this angle. Let the plate slip down a little bit, but that's fine. So there's one. And then I'm going to draw a second one next to it, but overlapping, but so the bottom is as level as I can make it. Like that, so it's not up here, they're level. Level circles that overlap. I can't see what I'm doing upside down, it's quite tricky. Like so. And I can lose these paper plates down there. So I've got these 2 circles which are now going to turn into a pumpkin. So at the bottom, I can hold it up for you to see. Arms not long enough to reach around. I'm just going to make a small joining line between the 2 circles, and the same again at the top here, like that. That gives you your pumpkin shape. Then you can go wild with your stalk that comes out the top. So pretty like how you would draw a tree trunk, really. Coming out the top there, like so, and I'm going to just give it a wobbly top edge, like that. So when you come to cut out, you don't cut along any of these lines. Here, you just cut around that outside edge of your pumpkin shape. I'm going to get rid of that now too. Told you I'd be flying through this tonight. It's not a very long teach at all. So I've got one, as I say, my Blue Peter Starley already cut out here. And how you cover your pumpkin now is up to you. You can use orange card, orange paper, orange paint. You can use poster paint, acrylic paint, whatever you happen to have at home. If you've got a limited range of colours, for example, you've got a set of paints that only have the primaries in it, you can still make your orange. And sorry if I'm teaching you something you already know. Yellow and red together, they'll give you an orange, no problem at all. Move those out of the way. If you haven't got any of that, you might have some orange tissue paper, like this, or as I said yesterday, if you joined me yesterday, if you've got a Sainsbury's bag, okay, cut it out, turn the text onto the, so it's hiding and stuck down, and you can cover your pumpkin with the orange plastic bag. The only downside of using a plastic bag is when you want to come to draw on features, which I'll show you in a minute, onto the pumpkin, you'd have to use a magic marker pen rather than, say, pastel, which you wouldn't be able to put on top of plastic. They just don't go together. So let me move this out of the way. Now I know I've told you, once I've moved it, I know I've said it. So I covered mine quickly with some orange card, as you can see, and I could have left the stalk just as it is, that brown cardboard colour, but I had some brown paint, so I've just gone over it with a slightly darker colour with the brown. Now I want to kind of bring my pumpkin to life. This is what I was talking about earlier. So if you used the plastic from that supermarket chain's shopping bag, then you can use a magic marker for this part, and it's about putting in like the sections of the pumpkin. If I show you this one, these sort of like banana-like shape sections that you get on the pumpkins. Okay, I'm going to shade mine in. I'm quite lucky, I've got quite a lot of different tools here because obviously my job is an artist, but you might have a limited range at home. So if you have, don't panic. You could use felt tip pens for this. You could just use a lead pencil. If you use a lead pencil to do all these lines that I'm about to tell you and smudge, you'll get the same sort of effect of a lead pencil. You might have chalky pastels, that's what I'm going to be using, oil pastels, felt tip pens, these which I love, which I thoroughly recommend people buying, the Posca paint pens, a bit expensive but well worth the investment. Any of those, anything that gives you the marks on your pumpkin. And I'm just going to show you how I achieved that sort of shaded section effect there. So I'm using chalky pastels. I've taken a brown chalky pastel, and I'll try and do it upside down for you, and run with the chalky pastel on its side. So I'm not holding it like a pencil, laying it on its side, on its wide edge. You get a nice wide mark then, all the way around the edge or the perimeter of the pumpkin. And it's messy, look, I'm not being accurate with it at all. I am going to lay it down just for a second, just for speed more than anything. So I come round like so, like that. And at the moment you think, crikey, what a mess. You might think that at the end of it as well. So we're now going to add in those sections, those banana-like sections that you get on the pumpkin. I start generally with a line down the middle. So if you were doing this with a marker pen, you could do a straight line or like a dashed line, so it looked like stitches, that kind of thing, down the middle there. And I described this yesterday, but if you didn't see it yesterday, I'll explain it again. Coming out now, we're going to have a series of arch shapes that look like brackets. So the first arch that's nearest that centre line is quite gentle. It's quite a gentle little slope, and it comes down something like that. And the same roughly on the other side. Now as we come out towards the edge of the pumpkin, you can see the arch gets much bigger, much deeper. So my second bracket will be much wider, like that, and like that. This is all optional. You don't have to add these details in at all if you don't want to. You could just leave it orange and do the decoration over the top. But I like to show you these little tips if you fancy having a go. Then you can see what's going to happen. You're going to smudge. You're going to have to lay it down. Smudge your chalky pastel or your oil pastel or your pencil if you're using a pencil to get some smudge lines in there, some shadow on your pumpkin. I'll try to go as quickly as I can because it can't be very interesting to watch me smudging a pumpkin. There we go. And like this. Oh. I could work on that a little bit more, but you'll get the idea. So you end up with something like that. And just because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and I like to teach you everything I can, we've put the shadow in. It's nice to put in a little bit of highlight as well. So again, if you've got a piece of chalk or a chalky pastel, but don't worry if you haven't, or paint, you could even do this with paint if you wanted to. I've put the highlighters in the areas basically that I haven't touched with the brown. Just a little bit in each one. Like so. And again, you're going to smudge those in So we've got a highlight on our pumpkin. And when I did this, I thought, crikey Mikey, that white looks really quite, that highlight looks really quite white. And it's taken away a little bit from the orange. So I then, because I'm, like I say, a bit of a perfectionist, went over again with a bit of orange. This is only if you've got these tools at home. Like that. And again, give it a smudge. Going to end up looking worse than this by the end of this, trust me. Wait to see what's coming up. There we go. I'm going to give that tap, put all the chalk dust off, and there we have our pumpkin ready to decorate now. So the next part is the text. The reason I say put the text or the writing in is so that you know what space you've got left to put your footprints in. So I did my text here first, and then I knew exactly how much room I had left to put my footprint. Just to show you a footprint as well, I'm going to get onto that. You might have feet that are too big to fit on one pumpkin, so there's a cutout foot. You could just put one print on there, so don't worry if you're thinking, crikey, my feet are too big to fit on my pumpkin. Just go for one, has the same effect. Right, I shall lay that down. Text now. So I used paint pens, these paint pens, which I keep saying I really love. You could use a marker pen. You could print out the words trick or treat, smell my feet from your laptop if you've got one at home, or your computer at home. You might have, these are in quite a lot of craft shops at the moment, these sort of Scrabble squares to make the words up. Or just before I came on camera, you could cut out the individual letters from a newspaper, trick or treat, if you don't want to use your own handwriting. It's entirely up to you. I won't bore you with me drawing on the trick or treat, smell my feet, because you get the idea from that one there. And I could spend ages doing the writing and you'll be falling asleep, quite frankly, watching me. So imagine that my text is done now. The next part is to add your footprint. Now you can, if you're feeling very brave, tip out some paint and print your own foot, stamp in that paint and step onto your pumpkin to leave your own footprint. That's really nice for any parents or grandparents or carers that have got really little ones at home. It's quite a nice memento to have their little tiny footprints on these pumpkins. If you're slightly older, like I say, you can just put your one footprint on there if you want to. It's up to you. If you don't want to put your feet or toes anywhere near any paint, as my two probably really wouldn't fancy, you could draw around your foot. This is my daughter's foot, she's obviously a lot older. You could just draw around it with a pencil and cut it out and stick your footprint onto your pumpkin if you want to. However, one last printing technique that I'm going to show you, I like the idea of a printed footprint. Even if I got my feet out, which I won't do, don't worry, they'd be too big for this pumpkin. So I'm going to show you a way that you can do a printed pumpkin. It's a bit of a cheat, using your hands. So I will bring up my paints. I've just used a ready mix poster paint, like so. You can use acrylic, it's a little bit harder to get off. I just find this a lot easier to wipe. I'm going to get myself some kitchen roll at the ready, because I know what's coming. There we go. And she chokes on the chalk dust. And as well as the paint, I'm going to have a piece of white paper or newspaper or scrap paper that I can just dab my hand onto and then throw away after we've printed with it. So, to make a footprint from your hand, you have to make a fist. And it's this section here that we're going to put on first. If I show you, so hand, it's going to go straight into the paint. Here we go. So I'm going to push it into the paint and lift it up. And you can see, kind of makes this number 7 shape like that. There's quite a lot of paint on there at the moment, so I tend to do one little print on the paper just to get some of that excess paint off. Then I'm going to go over to my pumpkin. Your one will obviously have handwriting on it now, and I'm going to put my hand, can you see, onto the pumpkin and lift it off like so. Now I'm going to quickly wipe my hands. It's going to look glorious after this. Green and brown and orange. And I'm going to do the other hand as well now. So make your fist, and it's this section here that you want to get covered in the green or whatever colour paint that you've got. Oh, push it into the paint. There's a lot on there, so dab some off onto that piece of paper, like so, and then go over to your pumpkin and put your second print on. They don't have to be level at all. Oh, like so. Number 2. Let me wipe this off. Oh gosh. And now we're going to add our toes to this is basically the sole of the foot. So to add your toes, you're going to use your thumb and 4 fingers, starting with the thumb. Dip it into your paint, tap it off onto your paper because you don't want too much on there. And you're going to put your big toe in its right place. 1 there and 1 up there. Oh, that's a bit of a bad print. Let me do it because my thumb's up the wrong way round. Holding it upside down to show you. 1 and 2. There we go. 2 big toes. Then you move to your pointy finger. There's be a song about that. I used to sing my children when they were little. Paint on your pointy finger, dab it off a little bit. Number 2, toe goes in. Number 3 will be your middle finger. I'm hoping this is alright. I'm doing it upside down. 3. Number 4 is your ring finger. 4 and 4. And then finally your little finger, that tiny little toe on the end. 1 and 2. So there you have, let me wipe my hands in just a second, your 2 footprints that are made from your handprints. Let me just wipe my fingers. So you can just leave it. Oh, I'm at the end of the roll, look. You can just leave it as those 2 footprints if you want to. Or you could do a series of footprints going across your pumpkin, so it looks like somebody has walked across your pumpkin if you're going to go with that idea. Then, let me move this out of the way just to show you the finished one. All I did, I took a marker pen. I'm so going to put my elbow in this paint. 1 sec. There we go. I took a marker pen and I've outlined around the bottom of my stalk there. In fact, I might do it on this one. I know it's a bit wet, I'll show you. So, around the bottom of the stalk, like so. I would go all the way around the edge of the pumpkin. You can put some pumpkin stalk lines coming up here. A bit of detail around the edge of the stalk as well, on the top, until you're happy with it. And then the last thing that you want to be doing is adding some string and a tiny little hole so that you can hang up your door hanger for Halloween. Now if you're doing this at home and you're a wee bit little, get an adult to help you. What I find, you can either put a ball of plasticine or blue tack, take a pencil and push through into that blue tack to make a hole, or if you've got a parent nearby that can help you, maybe they can push a little screwdriver through to make you a hole, or a pair of pointy scissors. So I'm just going to push that through like so. There you go, right at the top of the stalk there. And then you're going to take a piece of string or whatever you've got lying around, wool, maybe some ribbon, poke it through the hole and tie it off at the top. There we go, almost there now. Much quicker than yesterday, this teach. There you go, so you would hang it up like that. I'll just show you the finished product. Move it out of the way. So there you go. But you can really let your imagination run wild with this. Don't stick to a pumpkin shape. You could have a witch's hat or a wizard's hat. You could have a black cat. You could have an owl. You could have a bat shape. Whatever tickles your fancy, give it a go. So that's today's quick craft activity for you to have a go at home. Tomorrow we are going to go for probably the most tricky of the crafts. I don't know anything about Harry Potter. I totally hold my hands up to that. I've never read the book, never seen the film, but I understand there's a character, I think it's called Hedwig, who is the owl in Harry Potter, and owls are quite Halloweeny as well. So tomorrow we're going to have a go at making an owl out of a milk carton, don't you know? So if you fancy that, please do join me. All my details for these free workshops are on my website, which is www.bespoke.creative.design. Hopefully there's a link being added somewhere as we speak. Anyway guys, enough from me. Take care, stay safe, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.